This year, much like my relationships, came and left us in a flash. It's been a divisive year in terms of both quality and consistency of releases, and without giving much away, the redundancy of a lot of these picks will speak for themselves. Just like always, I won't be limiting myself to recent releases just to cover a wider variety of my extremely jaded interests in this hobby, as well as bringing up more people to talk about their own personal picks. Though outside of these games, I'd first like to talk about 3 other types of media I've made sure to critically consume at risk of being funky-towned by the fatherless community of My Anime List, Letterboxd, and Last.fm. The most recent one being Godzilla Minus One. I showed up expecting a smaller scale and more by-the-numbers Toku movie as a stepping stone to Shin, but after watching it, I felt genuinely moved and a bit unnerved by just how both depressive and uplifting it managed to feel. It was uncomfortably personal at many points, making the stakes feel a lot bigger and more involved as you get invested in the protagonist's will to fight, fueled by the anguish of survivor's guilt personified on a grand scale. A lot of it is really elevated by the score, managing to capture both the sense of sorrow and chaos at any given moment. It's an easy top 5 and I need that shit injected into my fucking veins. If by some measure you're at all interested in either Toku or war dramas and still haven't checked it out,
what the fuck is wrong with you? You the fuck is what's wrong with society, you dumb, ignorant black.
Not much to report on the side of manga and anime. I don't care for seasonal slappa and I've been slowly mining away at some old classics. But in the meantime, I finally managed to finish Sekito Elegy this year and yeah, it fucked me up, what else do you expect? I can't really mention any of the late stuff because of spoilers, but Kira wrote in 3 critical climaxes in the span of 10 chapters that just throw you for a loop each time, making you question these characters' real intentions as you only get to see brief solemn windows into their emotions before life gets in the way and forces the couple to make some really tough choices. I also really enjoyed the focus on family, as many chapters get to chip in both the functional and dysfunctional aspects of it and the impact it had on their lives. It's the only manga I've read that harbors on the rapid progression of time, responsibilities, relationships, and how all of it can be flipped on its head no matter what lengths people do to sacrifice for them. It's beautiful, funny, and sobering, and it'll always stick with me. And as an addendum, Kira recently did a chapter of the couple 15 years later and fucking Christ, it just melted my heart. Oh yeah, we're talking about video games! I was pretty busy throughout the year, so I never really had any time to dedicate myself 100% to a game, but as soon as Pikmin 4 dropped, it was as if the spirit of Ochi himself possessed me and I sat down 100% of that game complete in 3 days without any breaks. It might not sound like much until you consider just how much content Pikmin 4 has to offer. As an effective soft reboot of the series, it really attempts to play out all 3 of the original campaigns all at once, with the main campaign acting as a sort of redo of Pikmin 2 with its cave system and multiplayer mode on top of adding Danduri segments that emphasize diversifying resources to collect everything in the fastest time possible. There's so much content on offer and all of it is polished. My only gripe would be the nighttime tower defense mode offering literally zero incentive as you just charge in with your CIA Pikmin and stun everything in a 50-mile radius to win. The game in general has an issue with balance and difficulty where it just feels too easy with Ochi acting as a Swiss army knife strapped to an ATV strapped to a toddler mauling pit bull that's so precious and I love so much more. Though it isn't that big of a deal since objective difficulty has never been one of Pikmin's core principles, a lot of the panic is more so induced in how to manage resources and units efficiently before time runs out, which there's still plenty of situations like that. And I want every single one of those hardcore Pikmin 2 elitists to show me their stars in the Sage Leaf trials before ever complaining about not being raped by random bombings every 5 minutes. Even if it doesn't reach those intense highs, it's still very close to being my favorite Pikmin game, just with the amount of content and levels, game modes, units, and enemies on to offer. It was honestly more than worth the decade-long wait. Though something about that living room level reminded me to finally give Chibi Robo a shot, and I really fucking hate myself for not having played it sooner. As a massive fan of Love Delete These Nuts, I'm fond of many of their games' approach to progression, walking around a colorful world and talking to any kind of bizarre NPC you can think of as you help them with their personal dilemmas. Games like Moon and Tulip come to mind as personal favorites, and I was really happy to find that Chibi is no more different than them, with the added plus of even more exploration with the small-scale platforming and abilities you can buy in the shops to explore every nook of the house. It really helps to mitigate the popular complaint of sitting around and waiting for NPC cycles, as smaller collectibles and things like dirt and trash reset, always keeping you busy and making progress. Set NPCs are just as memorable as they have their own dreams and drama as they roam around the house at night. This also reflects on the family household being all like, boom, divorce! It's a really good juxtaposition against how the upbeat and frankly soothing presentations offers an incredibly catchy and easygoing soundtrack and dynamic sound design done by I forgot his name. Oh, what was his name? Hirofumi Tamaguchi, who also Worked on Tulip. Every step and jump is accented with notes, and even sweeping the floor loops a short bossa nova. I adore every single aspect of this game and couldn't get enough of his charming character, which was also a sentiment I had towards the recently released Mario RPG remake. And hey, surprise surprise, they both share some of the same DNA as well. No, I really don't need to gush about this game. Like, you've either played it or you had your ear talked off by some 30-year-old Nintendo YouTuber that jerks off in his car. The game always keeps you on your toes and never overstays its welcome, always switching up the scenarios and characters in pretty subversive ways, coming off as cute and endearing more than pretentious. It's one of the few games that put a big dumb smile on my face. Aspects of the remake specifically were a bit hit or miss, however. I love the presentation, but in motion it just felt either too smooth or too stilted at times, though during the combat it was nothing but snappy and responsive. I did also really enjoy the pre-rendered special attacks looking really clean and full of effects. They tried doing the same with the OST, but it just comes across as extra more than anything. Maybe I'm just jaded, but I'm really tired of Square's over-orchestration of anything and everything. Something like Big Band is fine, but having several strings and 5 layers of percussion in a song that originally had 8 channels is a bit fucking overkill. I'm still split on really seeing if this is the definitive way to play Mario RPG, but if you're looking for a short and sweet RPG to play this year, then this is definitely a must play. Now for those size queens and BBW warriors out there, there's something even better. Like, of course, I already knew this was going to be here the moment it got announced. It's fucking Star Ocean 2. It's possibly the best JRPG on the PS1, up there with like Valkyrie Profile, which was made by the same people. Like, no shit, a remake was gonna knock it out of the park. This time, developer Gendrops took the PSP version as a base and built off of it with a revised crafting system, faster combat, general quality of life in the HUD, and more customization and presentation and a remastered score, all wrapped up in an honestly better interpretation of that HD 2D style. Finally getting rid of those god-awful hideous voxels with a more realistic look that better complements the lighting instead of searing your eyeballs off when it's sunshine on the flat surface. Everything else is thankfully kept in. There's no Kiwami 2 fuckery here, meaning your personal harem is still here, not you. And all the story beats and different routes play out just as you remember them. Not saying I want it to be changed, but the lack of new or remix content is the only thing holding me back from claiming it as my all-time favorite this year, which honestly speaks more about the industry than the game itself. Cause you know, a lot of people have lauded this year as it being another smash hit like 2017 with banger after banger, and I'm just sitting here realizing it's been nothing but fucking remakes and sequels, with any and all originality still coming solely from the indie space. Even then, some of them end up feeling more derivative than the average AAA. Very few in particular manage to stand out though, like that Pizza Tower game. I have a lot of ground to cover with this one, so surely there's gonna be some white boy with a mind virus for a slice of Little Caesars and a cup of water out there.
Lenny has shown a continuous lapse in judgment and allowed me on his channel to talk about my 2023 Game of the Year. Over the past year, there is no game I have played more than Pizza Tower. Pizza Tower is easily the most fun I've had with the game, at least since Sonic Mania's release in 2017. For those somehow unaware, Pizza Tower is a new indie game from developer McPig, which has been in development for almost half a decade. Yep. The game is supposedly inspired by the Wario Land franchise, although more appealing to me is the more apparent Sonic influence. The game's main focus is on speed and movement. Think almost like a combination of Sonic design and Super Metroid's movement. In Pizza Tower, each stage is inspired by the stage structure of Wario Land 4, where our hero, an Italian sex icon, Peppino Spaghetti, must find the pillar within the level and destroy it. Upon destruction of the pillar, the main gimmick of the game kicks in. Pizza time. The clock is ticking whenever pizza time kicks in, and you're required to rush your fat ass out of the stage. The music will get faster and louder as the stress gets intense as you race to the finish, with the knowledge that if you don't make it to the exit in time, you will lose everything you've collected thus far in the stage. Each stage has 5 toppings that work as this game's power star of sorts, as they get you money to access the boss gates within each floor of the tower. Speaking of boss fights, as opposed to other 2D platformers this year, Pizza Tower actually has some pretty good bosses. All the boss fights are solid and fun. You can either chimp brain force your way through the bosses, or you can go in with strategy. The bosses will reward you for understanding the patterns and learning them. The game will reward you for paying attention and good use of the parry, which can be used on every single attack in the game. Which, by the way, does mean that Peppino can body Kratos. I'm sorry, I just do not make the rules for this type of thing. I could maybe do without 2 of the bosses doing a fight an enemy that's similar to you thing, but other than that, they're amazing. While the normal stages of Pizza Tower are already fun to speed through on your first playthrough, the real fun begins whenever you go for the P ranks. In every stage, upon exiting the stage, you are ranked on your score and collectibles obtained. On most of your first run-throughs, you're going to get either an A or a B rank, so following that, an S rank is the highest normal rank you can get, but it's kind of a weird in-between. Above those S ranks are the fabled P ranks. A P rank requires special use of the combo system within the game. Much like a crackhead stealing copper for crack, Peppino's spaghetti must kill and consume in order to keep that precious combo meter going. However, this isn't one of those games where the combo drops immediately. It just slowly drops down, so it's easy to understand but hard to master. The combo meter must be kept going through the entire stage, as if it's dropped once, your P rank is gone and you're back to the lobby. But it's not just holding the combo that gives you the P rank, you also have to find all the secrets in the stage in one run. But it's not over yet. While holding the combo and doing all of this, you must also complete the second lap during pizza time. The second lap is literally just the game edging you as you do the escape sequence all over again while still holding your combo. Only after doing all of that will you get the coveted P rank. Going after P ranks feels like gambling in the way that I can't control myself and I refuse to end on a loss. I have wasted hours of my life going after P ranks. I just can't explain or do justice to the orangutan brain neuron activation that getting a P rank gives you, so you'll just have to play it yourself. Visually, this is one of the best games I've seen in years, at least in my opinion. While it's not Zoomer 4K graphics or even like the typical indie hand-drawn art style, this game is just fun to look at. It's to the point where I regularly use just random shit in the game as reaction image, and some shit is just funny, I just can't explain it. On a more serious and critical note, I'd also like to highlight the way that Peppino's animations flow into one another, but not in like a shitty third-person game way, where they all just kinda get in your way and kinda suck. The animations, once you understand what to look for, really helps you inform and understand Peppino's movement. Finally, I just want to highlight the music. This won't be long, I'm not one of those band kids that played in marching band once and acts like they're a fucking Beethoven-esque musical expert on YouTube. Pizza Tower's soundtrack is one of the most consistent soundtracks that I've heard, at least in a while. I always hate that when people talk about video game OSTs, they're always like, yeah, that game has a great soundtrack. But upon further inspection, they're only talking about like 3 tracks out of like 57 tracks in the game. Pizza Tower, on the other hand, I can't immediately think of a track that I dislike, as every stage, on top of being a banger, also fits the stage. My only complaint is that some of the original tracks aren't in the final game. If my only complaint about your soundtrack is the fact that you don't have more pre-existing great music on top of what you already have, then I think you've done well. Big ups to Mr. Sauceman, Klasky, Jitto, and also Post Elvis. I'm really hyped to see what they work on next. Ain't no goddamn cocoon have no fucking tropic crust, that's for goddamn sure. And for Mick Pig, he's continuing work on Pizza Tower, so I'm excited to see that and whatever he works on in the future. So yeah, in conclusion, Pizza Tower is pretty swaggy, you should play it. Okay, thanks, bye.
Thank you, Corner. Speaking of crackers and indie games, I want to give a shout out to a little game called Cursed Crackers. Despite the Game Boy inspired look, the game is surprisingly smooth and responsive, playing like a cracked out version of Clannad, with enemies and obstacles you can chain together to speed over and under platforms while always being able to stop and redirect at a dime for some real tight precision. Also a really big fan of the OST not limiting itself to just a standard 8-bit chiptune sound, allowing for some really cool experimentation with strings and percussions at a breakneck BPMs, ramping up during some of the really intense boss fights. It also got some cute girls and big ol'...
I was still in school at the time, but I'll never forget the images I saw on the news that day. The Belgians set off 7 nuclear explosions on their own soil.
Oh. Ace Combat Zero doesn't pull any punches. Right off the bat, you're flung into a Gulf War scenario as Belka is seemingly imploding after waging war against a nation too great to conquer, letting them all to fight tooth and nail against them and fucking nuking itself in the process. As another pawn in this war, your choices are very limited. Despite the few ones you're giving, it ultimately results in the same inevitable outcome where hundreds of thousands of people will die no matter how you choose to fight. You'll see your friends delude themselves into dogmatic beliefs as a way to cope with the loss and ultimately succumb to even more bloodshed. Certainly, you aren't the same as them. One thing that really bothered me about ACC is as the war seemingly reaches the climax and you've put an end to every seeming threat on the continent, as you get showered by praise by your peers, you're left gazing into a crimson, red, and ash-covered horizon and nothing but silence. You already saw a morbid scenario like this prop up before in Ace Combat 3, but it was mostly relegated to science fiction and more so criticizing the industrial military complex at an arm's length. Now that the series is sponsored by Lockheed Martin, I don't think they can really get away with that, so instead it's more of a philosophical dilemma about the ultimate goal of war and what overtaking land and establishing borders truly means to someone fighting directly in the war, whether or not your loyalty truly means anything to you or the people around you. I don't mean to get pseudo, but it's what struck me the hardest out of anything else in this game. That's not to say it's bad though, the game is fucking incredible. Hands down, it's the best Ace Combat on the PS2 from mission variety, replay value, and Jesus Christ, that music.
Hello, is this the emergency hotline? Yes, I would like to report a backshot emergency over Tilted. We have a Neon Course, a Rapex Legends, and a Quanner currently giving out multiple backshots to unsuspecting 10-year-olds in the lots. We would like to call in a Garbomeister, a Sonicbolt, and a Rhapsody into the area if possible. I don't know if that's possible at this current time, but we are currently experiencing some heavy backshots, and it would be imperative that you send them now.
From the dawn of time, cultures and ideals have clashed among men. From the many tribes of Greece and their gods, to the many religions that developed in Europe, the development of culture among our different groups have led to much discord and much more violence between us. However, these days we can all be united under one banner. Nay, united together under a new culture. Of course, I'm referring to Fortnite, the peak of human cultural revolution.
You should kill yourself.
You can't get away with it! Am I? Berserker Barrage!
Damn, son, where'd you find this?
I drive.
Oh my fucking god!
Another day, another victory for the OG.
Holy shit! Say hello to my little friend!
Oh, baby, it's triple! Oh, yeah!
Originally starting off as a decent base defense multiplayer shooter RPG, it developed throughout the years into an amalgam of human culture by carbon copying PUBG's Battle Royale mode, which was way more successful than this. Some would even say Fortnite is man's second attempt at the Tower of Babel, a foundation set where all of human cultures and societies can be united as one. I mean, let's be real here. There is no other game where you can play Gangnam Style in a Guitar Hero ripoff mode, playing as Darth Vader, Peter Griffin, LeBron James, and fucking Goku? Okay? Fortnite is easily the prime resource for investigating modern culture in Western society, and a perfect place to learn how to do the doggy, or hit the gritty, or give back shots. You know what I'm saying? Let's be real here. Quanner cranks those 90s. And you know what? There's more. You can play shitty. Well, it's not really that shitty. You can play Crash Team Racing with snaking in Fortnite and Minecraft, but shittier in Lego Fortnite. I bet you play on build mode. You know what? I bet you don't even play Fortnite. I bet you're gay. That's why my anime game of the year is Fortnite, because it has big anime women like Bulma.
Time for the lightning round. This was Skip's LTD's first outing after branching off of Love to Lick These Nuts, and it still resembles the freeform and character-heavy nature of Moon and Lack of Love, while taking heavy cues from Animal Crossing. Pretty laid back and fun time with a killer soundtrack perfect for long fishing sessions. Really, this was just an excuse to play Gran Turismo 2 again, with a bigger library of cars and revised models and specs for each of their racing upgrades, both new and cut from the game originally. Nothing but an amazing send-off to the Xenoblade trilogy and perfect works as a whole. Heartfelt story, characters, though a bit too heavy-handed with the member berry shit. I feel like due to how shit the Amnesia series has always been, a lot of people slipped on this game, when in reality its open-ended nature and systemic gameplay, encounters, and randomized items during every single run has this play more like an immersive sim akin to the Penumbra games. I'll say up front that I never played the original game. I more so just jumped into this game on release looking for something to satiate my needs for an ARPG or a dungeon crawler without falling into the weeb slot. And Remnant 2 managed to deliver almost all of that with some really clean shooting and boss fights, not you, and a progression system that had me exploring everything the game had to offer. It feels like a fully realized version of Space Harrier taking some slight cues from Panzer Dragoon. Though the one thing that just can't be ignored is how they got a Queen tribute band to score the most legally distinct versions of Bohemian Rhapsody and Killer Queen with some electric light orchestra sprinkled in there, and it's such a fucking trip, my highlight of the year.
Hey, it's me, Blue Rhapsody. I'm back again to talk about some of the best games I played in 2023.
Consider these my dark pagan blood sacrifices in order to make the next year an even more plentiful harvest.
Fuck the tree side.
This game is fucking awesome. You go zoom zoom in the mech and blow everything up, despite not being as autistic about it as some other games in the series are. I've spent way more time than I want to admit customizing my mech and making Black Ops 2 emblems of anime girls. The movement in this game is really snappy and kinetic. Dodging missiles and chain boosting at enemies just feels so good. The story is serviceable, but I feel the character writing is really bad outside of the briefings. The only character I really liked was Michigan. Everyone else was either too boring to remember or annoying at worst. Walter's constant fucking dog analogies got really grating by the second playthrough. It just feels so forced. Same with Carla's dialogue. The multiplayer is really fun though. Make sure you add the PC bit. This isn't a homo shadows die twice situation. Now that I can play this game, I'm glad to say it's really fun. It brings back that classic Ratchet & Clank chaos alongside movie quality graphics. Everything in this game looks and runs surprisingly well for a PC port. I never ran into any of the issues that other people did, even at launch. The only problem I had was that I wasn't using a DualShock 5 controller. For most of the guns, this isn't really an issue as much as it is an inconvenience, but one gun in particular was completely unusable because of it. Other than that, it plays great and possibly has the best gameplay out of the entire series. Like any good Ratchet & Clank game, the weapons are fun and punchy to use. The wrench in particular has never felt more useful. Along with that, the addition of a difficulty setting was a great choice for the series, and adds a lot of replay value. The planets in this game are some of the best in the series, partially because they are a copy and paste of the best stuff from other games with a Pixar coat of paint to it. That sounds like a backhanded compliment, but it really adds to the strength of this game. The mechanics, enemy AI, difficulty settings, and the weapons are leagues above the games that these levels were originally in. Ultimately at times, making them feel completely different to play. Most of the game's writing feels pretty Marvel with the, he's right behind me, isn't he? Style of quips, but that's kind of been the case since the future games anyway, so I wasn't really expecting much. Besides for my issues with the writing, this game's still incredibly fun to play and I highly recommend it to anybody. This last game I'm going to talk about, I was so excited to get my hands on, I even pre-ordered it. Rants is a super long-running eroge series, meaning porn, that had its first game in 1989. Over the years, the Rant series has built up a gigantic cast of likable characters with incredible world building. Think of it like the One Piece of porn. Each game has a completely different gameplay style, making it hard to uniformly lump the entire series into one genre. Surprisingly, the series is extremely self-aware and more comedic than people give it credit for. A lot of the comedy is derived from the sheer darkness of itself or through implication. To continue from last year, on a quest to restore his faithful companion Silph from being frozen solid in the never-melt ice from Pokemon. Getting massively sidetracked, Rance puts his penis in the wrong hole and gets cursed to not be able to fuck women under level 35. While trying to fix that, Rance and co topple organized religion and install a new pope. After lifting the sex curse, Rance tries to use the pope to fix his companion Sil. Unfortunately, it doesn't work. Therefore, Rance sets his sights onto the military nation of Helmand to the north. With their advanced ancient technology and artifacts, there may be a way to save Sil. Starting Rance 9, the Helmanian Revolution. Rance is resting in his castle that he illegally obtained when he gets a letter from an old comrade. Former Helmanian Prince Patton is requesting Rance's assistance in an ongoing civil war against the royalty of Helmand. Seeing this as a great opportunity to gain unrestricted access to all the royal family's ancient technology and magic if the revolution succeeds. Rance gladly accepts the offer on the one condition that the revolution has to be wrapped up within 3 weeks. Otherwise, he's ditching them and going home. When Rance arrives, he meets up with Patton and his forces. The civil war is already going on, and Patton's forces consist of a large number of defected soldiers alongside Rance and some other mercenaries. Long story short, the plan is to keep most of the forces where they are while Rance, Patton, and a few others disguise themselves as bandits. Then sneak around the eastern half of Helmand to get to the back of the capital and directly decapitate the monarchy while most of their forces are fighting the bigger group of revolutionaries. For the sake of time, I'll leave it off there, but in my opinion, this is one of the most engaging stories out of the entire Rance series. It is extremely tight-knit and doesn't meander like Rance Quest does at times. Unlike past games, Rance grows more so as a character and becomes significantly more likable as this game goes on. In Rance Quest, near the end, he was showing signs of changing from his usual self-centeredness, but Rance 9 expands on that and makes his character go way beyond the sex pest shit. Rance 9 this time around is a tactical JRPG that separates itself into several distinct chapters. Each one has events that can be entirely story-based, combat, or a mix of both. Most of the playable cast will consist of characters that have been reoccurring for multiple games from all over the entire series. Meaning by this point, since the world of Rance operates similarly to a JRPG, over the course of 9 games worth of adventures, these characters would obviously be very overleveled. So instead of falling into the trappings of most franchise games and resetting everyone down to nothing, Rance 9 solves this in an interesting way by keeping everyone at max power from the start. I guess to explain what I mean, there is no conventional level up system, characters already have their best equipment and their best skills from the start. By this point in the story, these are some of the strongest people alive in the Rance universe, and you feel it, especially that sick battle prep song. One of the only ways to upgrade characters in usual Rance fashion is to give them items, but these items are extremely important and can give characters some crazy stat boosts and abilities. All of that probably makes the game sound pretty easy, but that's just the baseline. Things literally only get crazier from there. For what it's worth, you are fighting like an entire nation, so it kind of makes sense. Enemies are smart. They'll always try to take out unguarded support units and punish poor strategy. They feel like a genuine threat when things are going awry. On top of that, the game will constantly be putting you into new and intense situations that will really make you think on your toes. The music in every game is really good, but this game has to be my favorite OST by far out of the Rance games I've played. In my opinion, this is the coolest design for Rance in the entire series. The art in this game as a whole is also a step up from the previous one. The Rance series blends story and gameplay together masterfully, making the characters and world over decades of games completely worth following. Rance 9 is another example of that. Genuinely, everything about this game is sick as fuck, and I highly recommend it to anybody who's willing to give it a try. Check it out and the rest of the Rance series on mangagamer.com. The translation team did an excellent job on this, and I'm excited to see what they have in store for Rance 10 for whenever that comes out. Well, alright, I'm off to die again. Thanks for having me on. I plan on making a much more in-depth Rance 9 review on my channel Blue Rhapsody. Be sure to check me out there. See you next time.
2023 marked the year where I finally started taking my Japanese learning seriously. I've been learning since 2021 on and off, but never really put that much effort into making sure that everything I consume is entirely comprehensible. So I decided to start from scratch and just throw myself at any game I've been putting off for the longest time, and I can definitely say it's one of the best things I've done for myself, as I finally got to experience Twilight Syndrome. On the surface, it seems like your average horror ADV. A group of high school girls start hearing about different rumors around the school ranging from the scandalous to the occult. One of the girls' inclinations towards the paranormal eggs the others on to look deeper into them, resulting in a series of cases. You start off with the fairly popular tale of Hanako-chan and get progressively more personal as each case breaks down a degree of relation until they start directly affecting the people that you know. It gets pretty harrowing as you're always encountering issues of bullying, heartbreak, suicide, far after anything could be done to prevent these things. Getting to view them from a personal perspective and seeing how something so painful fades away into faint whispers after class. There's also another layer of meaning to everything going on within the story that fans of Killer 7 might find familiar, but I'll leave that one for anyone willing to venture through it and find out, as it shook me a bit going into it blind. But on the same note, it made me flip on Suda51 entirely, as he wrote both the prank chapter for this game and the entirety of Moonlight Syndrome, twisting the more reserved and thought-provoking nature of the story into something more visceral and perverted that just left a really bad taste in my mouth. But I digress. Twilight Syndrome doesn't contain anything deeper than your average psychological horror novel, but the lengths it goes to presenting and pacing everything, constantly giving away hints of how each case plays out through so many perspectives and time frames, all clashing with one another to show how the truth can often be misrepresented, it gave me a lot to chew on. It got me thinking about my own experiences in high school and the tragedies you'd hear about but often forget if it affected people you aren't really that close with. As horrible as it is, it's pretty true to life. I wish I could give more things away, but I'd rather anyone remotely interested in the story and setting play it by any means necessary. Fortunately, a fan translation is in development, and thankfully, it isn't being done by Eurocora. This year was pretty hectic, had a lot of interesting experiences, a lot of ups and downs, but ultimately, there's a lot more experiences to look forward to this year, and I always hope to come back with more things I'd like to share in the near future. I hope everyone can do the same and keep themselves busy above all else. Anyways, until next time, bye!
Wait, Lenny, you didn't even talk about Spider-Man 2, because Spider-Man 2 is cool because, like, it has, it has, like, Kraven the Hunter, and he's like a furry, but not like in the pedophile diaper way, so he's like cool. Well, maybe not cool, I wouldn't really call him cool, because he kind of sucks, but and then, he gets, like, Spider-Man, I think they want you to call it, like, the alien suit, but I know, like, for the longest time, the comics is called, like, the black suit, but they probably don't want you to call it that anymore, because, like, Michael has to, like, rip it off of him, because he starts hitting his wife or whatever, but then, like, what's his name? The Venice guy, he sort of, like, blacks up the city. Well, no, maybe not blacks up the city. He has to, like, kill him, but, like, maybe not, because he's in, like, a coma. But I thought Spider-Man wasn't supposed to kill people, but he kind of killed him. He kind of seemed fine with it. It was kind of weird. But yeah, you forgot about it, because it's like Game of the Year. But, I mean, it didn't win, like, any awards or anything, but, like, it's like Game of the Year. So, I mean, Yeah, you like forgot about it, so you probably need to like redo this video.